Do you ever have that feeling where you're making more money than ever? I mean, maybe you finally hit that six-figure goal, but somehow you feel more stressed or even more broke than when you first started out?
It's a really common feeling. On paper, you have everything. The title, the salary, the benefits. It looks like security.
It looks like security, but it feels like you're on this really expensive treadmill that you can't get off of.
Exactly. And that feeling, that disconnect, is precisely what we're diving into today.
So if that sounds familiar to you, you need to stick with us because we're about to show you why that feeling is not a coincidence. It's not a personal feeling. It's actually by design.
And hey, before we get into it, if you appreciate these kinds of breakdowns of the systems that, affect your life and your money, make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button right now.
All right, we have this fascinating stack of sources in front of us, and they all outline the core mechanics of what they call the salary trap.
It's this whole economic system that's designed to keep you dependent on the next paycheck. And what's wild is it doesn't matter how big that paycheck is.
Our mission today is to unpack these sources and really get to the bottom of the difference between income and true wealth.
And what's so compelling, to me at least, is that it focuses so much on psychology, not just spreadsheets and numbers.
Yeah, it's about shifting your entire perception, moving from being, and I love this phrase from the source, a guaranteed revenue stream for other people.
Right, for your landlord, for the bank.
To becoming someone who holds true optionality.
That's the key right there. A high salary is temporary. It depends on you showing up. But real wealth, savings and investments, that stuff works for you, whether you're working or not. And that's what we're breaking down.
Okay, let's jump in. The first mechanism of this trap, it's all about the illusion of prosperity. And they use this great example of a person named Sarah.
Sarah is, she's the perfect example. She's 34, she's in marketing, and she makes $85,000 a year.
Which is a good salary. That puts her, what, in the top 20% of earners?
Comfortably in the top 20%. So by all metrics, she's made it, but she doesn't feel like it.
And here's why. It's how the money is delivered. So she gets paid biweekly. Her gross pay is just over $3,200.
Yeah, $3,269 to be exact. But that's not what she sees. After taxes, healthcare, little 401k, her net, her take-home, is $2,458.
Okay, and this is the critical moment. The system doesn't just hand her that lump sum and say, go build wealth.
No, not at all. It immediately fragments it. It sends that money flying out into all these different, almost invisible channels before she even really processes what she has.
So let's do the math from the sources. First up, rent. A huge chunk, $1,200.
Boom. Almost half of it is gone right there.
Then you've got, groceries, maybe eating out a few times. That's another $400. Car payment, gas, insurance. That's another $550.
And don't forget the small stuff. The phone, the internet, all the streaming subscriptions. Add another $120 for that. Utilities, another $140.
So when you add all of that up, what, $2,410 of her money is already spoken for?
It's already gone, which leaves her with $48.
$48 for 2 full weeks. I mean, for anything. An unexpected expense, seeing friends, anything.
And this is the psychological genius of the trap. Sarah doesn't feel deprived. She has a nice apartment. She drives a decent car. She can go out to dinner. She has a lifestyle.
Right. She has just enough comfort that it stops her brain from asking the really important question.
Which is?
Why am I not building any wealth? Why am I just treading water? Because the money leaves in these little automatic trickles. Her brain never really registers the full picture.
The conclusion is so powerful. She has a lifestyle, but she doesn't have wealth. And that distinction, that little psychological trick, is what sets up the second trap.
The golden handcuffs. This one feels, it feels way more insidious. If the first trap is just fragmentation, this one is about using our own human nature against us.
The whole system is designed to keep you dependent. Think about it. You're encouraged to get an education, which often means taking on a lot of debt.
So you start in a hole.
You start in a hole,
Okay.
which means you have to get a good job just to pay for the education that got you the job. It's a loop from day one.
And the second you get that raise, say you go up to $60,000 a year, your lifestyle just inflates to meet it, almost automatically.
That's lifestyle inflation. And the sources call it the system's main lever. We're wired to see moving up as buying more stuff.
The sources give this brutal example. You get a raise, so you feel like you deserve the nicer apartment. Your rent goes from $800 to $1,200.
You upgrade the car, your payment goes from $200 to $400. And in your mind, and in society's eyes, you're making progress. You're moving up.
Then you hit 90,000, and now the pressure's on. You need the $1,600 a month apartment, the $500 car payment, maybe a couple of international trips a year.
The keeping up with the Joneses thing becomes this massive, massive driver.
But I mean, isn't some of that just natural? Like you make more money, you want a better quality of life. Where's the line?
That is a great question. And the key word from the sources is intentionality. The trap works because the inflation is unconscious. It's driven by social pressure, by a desire for status.
So each raise feels like you're getting more freedom.
It feels like freedom, but the data is crystal clear. It actually tightens your dependence on the job.
Because now you can't leave.
You can't leave. That's the cruel twist. You absolutely need that high salary just to pay for the lifestyle you've built. You did it to yourself. We've traded freedom tomorrow for status today.
So it's not the salary that gives you freedom, it's the gap between what you earn and what you spend.
And the entire system is designed to make that gap as tiny as possible. Which brings us to trap number 3, the obligation treadmill.
Okay, let's talk about David from the sources. He's in tech, makes well into 6 figures, top 5%, but he was absolutely miserable, hated his job.
Right, he wanted to quit, start his own thing. But every time he even thought about it, he'd get this, pit in his stomach.
Why? Because his obligations were huge. A $400,000 house, 2 car payments, private school for 2 kids. His salary wasn't his. It was already promised to other people.
Then the really insidious trick happens. He gets a promotion, a $20,000 raise. And for a moment, he feels this wave of relief.
He thinks, okay, this is it. This will finally solve the stress.
But it's so temporary. The sources show that within weeks, new obligations just rush in to fill that space. His mortgage adjusts, property taxes go up, his kid needs braces.
The old car finally gives out, so now they have to buy a new one.
And just like that, the new income is gone. His financial stress level is exactly the same, just at a higher cost of living.
This is why that person making $30,000 a year and the one making $300,000 a year can report the same level of financial anxiety.
They're on different treadmills, but the speed is identical. And when you're trapped like that, paycheck to paycheck, you are predictable. You're controllable.
So let's go back to that guaranteed revenue stream idea. Who is actually benefiting from David being trapped?
Well, everyone he owes money to. The bank with the mortgage, the car company, the school. They love it. They know he can't risk losing his job. They see him as a reliable asset on their balance sheet. His dependency is their security.
Wow. Okay, so this realization is really the first step out. And the source material has this really provocative question that you should ask yourself.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Imagine you quit your job tomorrow. No notice, you just walk away. How many months could you maintain your current lifestyle?
And you have to be totally honest.
Totally honest. And the statistic is, it's alarming. Over 60% of professionals couldn't last more than 1 month.
60%. So 2 out of 3 high earners are basically 1 bad month away from a full-blown crisis. That is so much vulnerability hiding behind a nice car and a good job title.
And that lack of a cushion, that is what the sources call the very comfortable prison. You can't take risks. You can't start a business. You can't walk away from a toxic boss.
The mindset shift happens when you realize your high salary isn't making you rich. It's just keeping you busy enough and stressed enough that you don't have the time or energy to become rich.
Yeah, the question has to change from how do I make more to how do I build assets instead of obligations?
And if that idea, the comfortable prison, is, clicking for you right now, if you see that in your own life, then make sure you hit follow, because we're about to shift from talking about the trap to actually building the escape plan.
All right, part 5, the strategy, the way out. And it's not about some huge dramatic change overnight. It's about changing the small underlying behaviors.
Step 1 is just. You have to stop confusing income with wealth. A $200,000 salary is income. It's temporary. It depends on your time, your health.
Whereas $50,000 in investments, that's wealth. It's permanent, or at least it can be. And it works for you. It grows on its own. That single distinction changes the whole game.
Step 2 is what they call an intentional attack on the gap. We already said it, but freedom is all about the space between what you make and what you spend.
And the strategy is so counterintuitive. You have to intentionally keep your expenses low, even when your income goes up. That means making choices that feel like you're taking a step back in status, driving the old car a few more years.
Resisting the urge to move to the fancier neighborhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Goes directly against the golden handcuffs.
Oh.
And then step 3 is you take that gap, that extra
Hmm.
money you've created, and you immediately put it to work.
It can't just sit in your checking account.
No, it has to be redirected into assets that work for you, not liabilities that work against you.
So the end goal of all this is to build optionality. What does that actually feel like day to day for someone like Sarah or David?
Optionality is freedom. It's a psychological shift. The sources define it as the moment you have 3 to 6 months of your living expenses saved up and invested.
And once you have that buffer, what changes?
Everything changes. You're not trapped anymore. You suddenly have the power to say no. You have the leverage to go in and negotiate a huge raise because you know if they say no, you can walk away.
You can take that career risk you've been dreaming about. You can leave the job you hate.
The power dynamic completely flips. You are no longer dependent on that next paycheck. And in that moment, you stop being a guaranteed revenue stream for somebody else.
So when we boil it all down, the salary trap is incredibly sophisticated, but it's not a life sentence. The people who break free aren't smarter, they aren't luckier.
No, they just became aware of the system they were in. They made a conscious decision that comfort was not the same thing as freedom.
If this breakdown has been valuable for you, and you want to keep digging into the mechanics of building real wealth and achieving that optionality, make sure you're following or subscribe to this deep dive.
We'll leave you with one final thought from the source material. If 60% of us are just 1 month away from a crisis, what is one intentional, maybe even uncomfortable choice you were going to make this week to start creating that gap, to start building that optionality, and to slowly pry open the door of your own comfortable prison?
Thanks for diving in with us.